Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew. What I have for you today are 5 basic Ranger knots and their uses. Stand by. Today's a quick video. I've got to go here shortly and MC a banquet in the military, so I'm going to use my beautiful voice to talk over a loudspeaker and introduce a bunch of people and give out awards. So it's going to be great. But I've been working on knots lately, and this is just a simple Turk's head knot on my little Mora survival knife here. And I got to thinking, well, I've got my Ranger School handbook right here, the real thing that I took through the course with me. And I wanted to show some of the basic military knots. I typically don't teach a lot of knots because it's kind of hard for me to teach them in a way that I think people absorb them, but that's just me. And knots are usually something that I'm pretty good at. I've got good spatial reasoning and knots just come easy to me for some reason. I understand knots are kind of harder for other people to learn. But I wanted to do the top 5 most basic knots that we use not only in training, but also in just infantry life, out in the military. Everything from tie downs to attachment points to ways to keep our gear solid so it doesn't come unraveled on us. And maybe even some knots eventually that are good decorative knots that give us just a little bit more purchase or a stopper for our hand if we're using that blade or those tools for bushcraft and survival. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our first knot. And was looking over a lot of these knots. It's always good to practice knots and remember some of these things. It's a good thing they come with descriptions and pictures in here so we can actually remember what we were doing. But there are basic knots that are used most often in the military, Ranger School, SEER, out in the force and the infantry, all over the place for tie downs, for mountaineering, rope bridge crossings, all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to teach a few of those today. Now they're very basic, very easy, and I have different methods of doing these. So I'm going to demonstrate those and why they make sense to me. And the first one, the most used knot, in my opinion, is going to be that end of the line Bowline knot, a very useful knot. It's not going to come undone, pun intended, unless you untie it. This knot is great for attachments. Now, you can follow the rabbit up and out of the hole if that's what you want to do to tie this knot. I do a very simple method, and it's called the Arby's method. And so what I do is I just take out my hand, my non-dominant hand, and I lay my running end on top of my palm. I'll take my thumb and forefinger of my dominant hand and twist. So now my loop is created, but my standing end, the longer end, is over top of my running end. And then from here, I'll reach through the hole, grab the standing end, the longer end, and pull up. And basically what I have right here is a little Arby's hat. All right, I'll take that Arby's hat. I'll take my running end now, the short end, and I'll put it through the Arby's hat and then up over top and pinch it off, creating just a simple bite around the top of my Arby's hat. Now all I have to do is hold this, grab my standing end, and then simply pull. And it will create an end-of-the-line Bowline knot. And the way you can tell you did this right is that the tag end, or the remaining end of that running end, the little tag right there, is coming out through the center of the loop itself. And that's the end-of-the-line Bowline knot. I'll do it one more time for you at combat speed. So I'm going to take my running end, throw it over my palm, thumb and forefinger twist over, standing end over running end. I'm going to reach through that loop, pull out the Arby's hat, take the running end, go through the Arby's hat over top, creating a bite. Hold these two pieces of cord together, grab the standing end, and then just pull. And now I have an end of the line Bowline knot. And you can tell you're right because the tag is coming out through the middle of the loop. And that's the end of the line Bowline knot. So all we do with that end of the line Bowline is simply take our carabiner, our attachment point, loop it through, and then we typically clip this on our blouse or our shirt that we're wearing above that top button so it's ready to go. Take it out, unlocked, put it on that ridge line or that rope bridge, and then simply tighten this up, and now we're ready to go across as a safety line to ourselves, or also a line to that crew served weapon system so we don't drop it in the water. Seen that done before, don't want to do it again. Have to swim down to the bottom of that water crossing area and find that machine gun and bring it back out, because you will have to go get it. So this knot, that end of the line Bowline, is going to prevent you from having to get wet or super wet or risk safety from swimming down to the bottom of a river. is what we commonly use for our Swiss seats. We're going to carry large cordage or longer cordage, like this 1-inch tubular nylon webbing, which will make a great Swiss seat for mountaineering. This becomes basically our rappel seat that we tie around our waist and our hips and up through our crotch. Safety it off with a square knot and 2 half hitches, and then we can actually use this with our carabiner, and then we're good to actually start rappelling. And so it's a very simple technique. We use this a lot for one rope bridge crossings as well. So we got that cordage, but we need to know how to tie a square knot because there's actually a lot of different versions of square knots. There's reef knots, there's capsizing knots, there's thief knots, all of these different knots. The square knot is very simple. We got 2 different strands here. We've got our orange and our green. And we're thinking that these are the 2 ends of the same cord. We're tying off that Swiss seat. So all we have to do is go over one left over right with the green, and we create just a simple overhand. And then we just do the opposite direction this next time, left over right, and we come out and we have our square knot. You can tell it's a square knot because we have the 2 tag ends coming out the top, the same side. That is the top of the knot, the same side of the knot. And then we can actually grab both of these tag ends with this loop and we can move them freely. Now with the half hitches or the safeties, it's very simple. We're going to take our excess, tie it around our standing end right here. So this little running end is going to go around our standing end. And all we do is just tie a simple overhand knot. We go up and around, create a loop, and then we pull it through, and we actually pull that safety knot down tight against the square knot to prevent it from coming undone, because square knots can come undone. We use a non-slip knot to secure what could be a slip knot. And we do the same thing over here. We go up and around both, and then back through that loop we created to create just a simple safety. And I'll pull these out so you can see them. A square knot with 2 safety half hitches. That way we'd actually dress these knots up closer to the square knot itself, and then that's what basically keeps our butts in our Swiss seat as we rappel down a mountain face with a 90-pound rucksack and weapon on our back. So that's a square knot, and then those 2 safeties. All right, so the next knot I want to show you is a very simple knot. This one's used all the time, and there's one way in which it's used primarily, and it's actually to hank this up and prevent it from coming undone. This is about 50 feet of paracord, and it's tied off in such a way that the only way to undo this without undoing the knot itself is just by grabbing this little tab and pulling, and we can actually undo this entire coil or hank of cordage. But there's one knot in particular that keeps that all together for us, and that is a clove hitch knot. Now this is a very simple knot. I'm going to use the mandrel to show you one way, and then I'll show you a trick. What we're going to do is we have our running end of our cordage. We're going to take this, loop it over our mandrel, and then come back with one more loop, forming an X. We really need that X. We're going to come back underneath with that running end, and all we're going to do is, while maintaining that X, we're going to grab our running end and simply put it underneath that X. So it looks something like that. And then now all we have to do is hold on to that running end, pull the standing end, and we have a basic clove hitch knot that is tied, ready to go. And with the mandrel, we can just slide this right off. Now the easy way to tie a clove hitch knot is simply by creating one loop right here and then another loop in the same manner, and you take that second loop, slide it underneath that first loop, and we already naturally have our X as well as line coming out underneath our X. And now we can just take this, slide it over whatever we're gonna tie, and then just pull it tight. And we have our clove hitch right there. It's too easy. One more time, combat speed. We take our running end and create a loop, create another loop. So both running ends are on top. We're going to take that second loop, slide it underneath. We've got our X, and we've got our running end coming out the right side. Take our attachment point or wherever we're tying this out to, and then simply pull tight. And we have our clove hitch. One extra tip with a clove hitch is that this will tighten down on itself if we pull the running and standing ends, but a way that we can safety this knot off is by simply tying a overhand knot around itself on the running end because typically our standing end is going to be attached to something. And so that safety knot on our running end of cordage next to our actual clove hitch will help prevent that knot from slipping out, or if it does lose a little bit of that tension, that safety knot will slide into that X and prevent that knot from coming undone on us. So another helpful tip right there. All right, so here's another good knot to know. This is a great anchor or attaching point knot, especially for rappelling or belaying someone. And it's just a double figure eight. Now, to get a good figure eight, really quick, very simple, all I do is take the loop of cordage, create a bite, and then I'm just going to twist that once and then twice. I'm going to reach through that loop and I'm going to grab the cordage that's coming out my right side. I'm going to pull it up and through, and now basically what I've created is just that figure eight. That's how you get just a quick figure eight knot to show people for demonstration purposes. We want to have a double figure eight to attach to our Swiss seat or to a carabiner to act as an anchor point. And we can do the same thing. We can take this out and actually double it over. But instead now we're actually going to have to tie that double figure eight with our loop. And this is going to be our attachment point for our carabiner. We're going to take this down and we're actually going to wrap it twice around our standing cordage and then come up through the middle. And we want to make sure that none of our lines crossed and the knot is dressed. And I'll loosen this up just a little so you can see it. But here, flatten this out. But there is our double figure eight. And now what we would do is take this knot, we tighten it down, and then now we can take this with our carabiner, loop it through, or we can take this and simply attach it or slide it over an anchor point, and we would have some sort of tightening system out here, whether that's a trucker's hitch or something else out here. But this could be a simple anchor point or multiple anchor points. We have a pre-equalized anchor point there with 3 different anchors. We can use it for a lot of different things. So a figure eight or a double figure eight knot right there. All right, another useful knot that we can do is called a Prusik knot. This is a great friction knot. It's great for shelter craft, tightening up our shelters. It's also great for moving objects across a rope bridge and keeping them in place, or suspending them from rope, or even using it to climb up a rope or transfer gear up a rope without losing that gear and having to maintain a tight hold on the cordage or the rope itself. This gives us a basic attachment point that we can maneuver or move up fairly easily without expanding a lot of effort. And so with the Prusik, there are 2 different types of Prusiks. There's the middle of the line Prusik and then the end of the line Prusik. I'm going to show you both really quick. Now with the Prusik, middle of the line, we're going to grab our cordage and we're attaching this into the middle of the rope for climbing or for whatever we need to. And we're going to get that bite right here with our orange cordage. We're going to come up over top and in front and pull it down. And what we have here is just a basic lark's head. To complete this, very easy. Instead of grabbing our running ends and putting it through, what we can do is simply grab the loop and pull it around one more time, pull those running ends through, and then now we dress the knot and we have our Prusik. This Prusik is going to look like 4 knuckles with a thumb going across. It's going to give us a lot of friction. And the way we would finish off a middle of the rope Prusik down here, we could use that figure eight knot, or we could just do a simple overhand knot to keep these lines together, because maybe in between here, Prusik, we may have to suspend something using this line, or we may have another knot down here where we attach this. The best part about this knot is that if we pull this way, it's going to bite into the rope, causing friction, and it's not going to move. Do it the same way, opposite direction, same thing, it's not going to move. What we can do is loosen this up by pulling down on the thumb of that fist, and we can slide this up and down the rope. So if we're climbing up a mountain and we have an equipment line, we're bringing our equipment up, this would be attached to our equipment. We climb up, hold it, slide this up, and then release, and the weight of our equipment will cause the Prusik to bite on the line, holding it in place long enough for us. We can also use this as a tie-out for our tarp, for our quick deploy ridge line. We're setting up a shelter, attach the tarp here, and then simply move this and cause it to tighten. where it's going to bite and keep that tarp nice and tight. So that's the Prusik, the middle of the line version. And to get this undone, very easy. All right, so now we're going to do an end of the line Prusik. This one's just a little bit more complicated, but we get the same effect. And I'm going to do it backwards, facing you guys so you guys can see. We're going to take the running end of our cordage, and we're going to loop it over our line. We're going to do that one more time. And so we have two ends, our running end and our standing end. With our standing end, we're going to come out in front of our running end, and we're going to do the opposite. We're going to come over, and then one more time, and pull the standing end through, and then now all we have to do is pull down on this and dress up our Prusik. We have the same knot. The end of the line Prusik could be used as another attachment point to either anchor something else out. So that was the end of the rope Prusik, and we could finish it off the same way. Or we can do a simple figure eight like that, and then tighten it down. All right, guys. Well, I really hope you like this video. Like I said earlier, I've got some business I got to take care of tonight. So I wanted to do just a quick video today for you guys. And Ranger knots is something I've been playing with, of course, with some decorative knots on some of my gear. And so I take the time to explain these to you. I'm sure you know these already. These are very basic knots, but you can use them now, practice with them, and take them out there for survival and bushcraft. So I really hope you like this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment down in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.